her take on the matter. This is a case that has been set before the board more than once, deferred more than once, in an effort to get to a kind of a bottom line in terms of neighborhood conversation with regard to the short-term rental permit appeal filed by Ms. Fairbairn. Let's see, Ms. Fairbairn is present. Please come forward. You're already forward. So, introduce yourself by name and address. Make the desired presentation with regard to the item A appeal.
Excuse me, John Michael. So what exactly is the status? Are we hearing this from deferred, or are we starting over? What are we doing?
I think you're taking it from, well, the board has discretion there, actually. That's a reasonable question because you have heard the fundamental facts of the case. If you want to do a refresh where you take a few questions from the appellant, that's always in the board's discretion to do so. But you have had a hearing on it at this point as to what the general facts of operation, subsequent application, and denial, hence the appeal to the board are. But you have some discretion.
So, Chairman, I don't know if you heard my question.
So how much do we want to hear?
Yeah, and I don't know. Has everybody here heard this case?
We've heard it before. We have a good record. Let's hear the very condensed version.
Yes.
So, please begin.
My name is Karen Fairbairn. I live at 312 Clark Hill Crossing. We're here today because I'm trying to remember my application for the short-term rental permit was rejected based on the fact that I had sort of jumped the gun. I put an advertisement and started taking reservations before I actually had my permit application all together. I received a stop notice on my door before I had my first reservation come in. Actually, it was the day before. I came down to submit my application on that date. It had taken me a while to pull together all the information I needed for that. I brought it in. I did explain that I had the stop notice, at which point they told me I needed to pull the plug on everything, which I did. I did not actually rent the home or transact any business. I then went to environmental court where it was dismissed.
Why was it dismissed in front of environment? What did they say?
They agreed. Actually, it was Robert who had come, and he agreed that, he checked the website, saw that I had canceled everything. I won't speak on his
Okay,
behalf.
Mr. Osborne, our enforcer. You went to environmental court that day. What happened?
Yes, it was recommended by legal that we dismiss it with cost because it was just advertising, and that she should come here and see if she could.
So this was a more appropriate forum. So how did you hear about this violation, and what did you do when you found out about this complaint, I guess?
And we received just a general complaint of it being operated without a permit, so investigated it, found it on Airbnb. There weren't any reviews at the time, so I went to the property, posted a stop work order.
So in our packet, we have this big stop work order that you posted on the door. How many people get this versus a letter versus a hanger versus whatever?
Generally, everybody that operates without a permit does get a stop work order. Sometimes if I'm delayed in getting out to post a stop work order and they've taken it down, by the time they get the letter and I haven't posted it, they may not get a stop work order at that point because they should have already stopped.
Okay, so the council person says you should have known that your HOA had been discussing this for a while and that you go to these meetings and you should have known. So how do you respond to that?
I disagree. The reason that this was deferred the first time was so that I could have time to speak with her. She came and made a lot of comments about actually not my home, but the home next door to mine. She had some confusion and had received complaints from neighbors about the home next to mine. When we met, she finally agreed and said, I get it, not your house. Unfortunately, she didn't state that today, but I'm not sure that she's been able to provide any documentation. She talked about the police being called out to the home. That's never happened. I did speak to my neighbor. The issue that she had was with a long-term renter who was young and was a problem, and it took a good month or 6 weeks to evict that person. during which time there was some, unseemly behavior in the neighborhood. That's since been fixed. The woman that lives next door to me, the police have been out to her house and checked it. Another neighbor said they thought there was a meth lab in there. I mean, there was a lot of allegations about my neighbor that were unfounded. However, the councilwoman came in here and said that they were all me.
So we're not
I've
talking
spoken
about
with
that
her, and
today.
she agrees that it's not my house that she was discussing before. So really, I'd like to focus just on, and I haven't been to HOA meetings. She said today
You've never
that
been to an HOA?
I have never, in fact, I didn't even know who my board was. She gave me the phone number and contact information for the president of my board, and whom I reached out to, and has reached out to multiple times to try to meet, but they have other priorities as they were looking for a new management company and this and that. So I have yet to be able to get them to meet with me and discuss this. I don't see anything in the covenants that state we can't have short-term rental properties. There's nothing in there that makes it very clear to me that it would be not allowed. Having not attended any meetings, I can't say whether it's been discussed or not. I've never seen minutes of those meetings. I've also asked the president of the HOA for any bylaws or any amendments to the original covenants, which were written in 1995. I haven't received any information back from them.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? Any other things to add? Okay, we're going to close the public hearing, but before we do that, I want to ask Mr. Osborne another question, and this might be an unfair question, but it's about environmental court. You do a good job of trying to police these people operating illegally. You're going around trying to investigate things online and here and there. And if the record is correct, which I imagine it is, this person never rented but just posted. Why did she end up in environmental court?
At the time, we were taking anybody and everyone who even advertised to court.
Okay. So there must be so all the people that come in front of us get also dragged to environmental court?
Not all the time. I think we've changed our policy to send out the abate notice now.
Okay.
Give them a short period of time to come into compliance without taking them into court. If they don't comply with that letter and that deadline, then we do take them to court.
And we will remind everybody from home watching on Metro Nashville Network is we decide the punishment of a year or less. Environmental court, if you're found guilty in environmental court of violating the Metro short-term ordinance, it's 3 years. So they have more leverage than we do. So that's why I asked. Thank you. Discussion.
Well, I think this is fairly in line with some of the other cases. Let's say the facts at the end of all of this. I think there was a lot of confusion, and I would be willing to entertain something less than a year. And it seems like we're already. This was posted on the 10th of July, so it's almost 4 months now. So. That amount of time to no more than 6 months, I think would be fitting.
Who has motion?
Well, I will move that we find that the zoning administrator did not err, and the appellant is eligible for to make or to get a permit on the 10th of November.
Okay, motion's been made. Is there a second? Motion's been made and properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. So what we ruled is on November 10th, you will be eligible to apply. That doesn't mean that you get a permit. You could just go down to the codes department like everybody else and apply for your permit. So
That's all I ask.
yeah, and we're not also addressing the HOA, because if you go online, there's all this language about HOA, so I would read that before you go get your permit. Thank you. John Michael.
Mr. Chairman, our next case is a previously deferred case, 2017-228. This involves the property at 809 Main Street, where the Dean Design Group, as the appellant, and Lila Tov Hospitality, owner of that property, has requested a variance from the parking requirements in the MUGA zoning district in order to allow the construction of commercial space involving hotel and other commercial space as well. Short version, as shown on the zoning map here, the nearest intersection, there appears to be at 9th, just to the south and slightly west along Main Street. The aerial gives you an idea of the subject property, somewhat dated photo now, given the active construction and grading. Site plan submitted gives your actual board packet is going to have more specific information than this site plan. And from my somewhat recent site visit, a view of the property on the interior, across the street in the upper left, the view up and down the street here on Main. The request is to reduce, or at least the originally filed request was to reduce a max 122 car parking count requirement by 46 down to a total of 76 parking spaces provided. That variance request was presented at a previous BZA meeting. The request was deferred to today's date after the initial presentation, and the appellants have put more work into the project since then. So, Mr. Chairman, we would invite the appellants to reintroduce themselves by name and address, make the desired presentation to the board. Is there anyone here in opposition to case number 228? Seeing none, the appellants will have 10 minutes to make the desired presentation.
Welcome back to the BZA, and please present your case.
Yeah, I'm Charlie Dean with Dean Design Group, the civil engineer on the project, 1633 West Main Street in Lebanon.
My name is Adam Leibowitz, representing Lila Tove Hospitality Holdings, address 2515 Nolensville Pike, Nashville 37211.
Okay, so to kind of refresh our memories, the last time we were here, we talked about the parking variance, and we wanted, or should I say I wanted, to see more evidence that how many people that stay at Nashville area hotels similar to this one actually bring a car, rent a car, versus taking, hopefully, as the mayor would like, public transportation or Lyft or Uber or taxi cabs. So you have given us some information that we did not have at the last meeting, which we appreciate, and please proceed.
Okay. Thank you, Chairman Ewing, and the entire BZA board and staff for providing me with the opportunity to present a request for a parking variance and allow for the previous deferral on this matter. Upon deferral, I was asked to reconnect with the Metro departments associated with this request, as well as attempt to gather additional information that would support the idea of a reduced parking need for our hotel location. As part of that due diligence, I reached out to the zoning department, planning department, MDHA, and public works. I communicated with all of these departments about the variance, either over the phone or in person. None of the departments were opposed to the variance. Additionally, planning and MDHA have submitted letters voicing strong support. In addition to the support from the mentioned Metro departments, both Councilman Brett Withers and Councilman Scott Davis have noted their support of this variance at the previous meetings, and Councilman Withers has reissued a letter of support as well. I think it is also important to emphasize that the request for this variance was driven by a directive of Metro Planning to help address the desire to limit ingress-egress onto Main Street, Gallatin Pike, as part of the plan for future transit development. As an advocate of mass transit and my passion for the city of Nashville, and specifically East Nashville, I pledged to planning to go through the process of the parking variance request and be a good steward to the city. While we are currently under construction building our hotel per our permitted design, the parking variance will provide us with the flexibility to market the space and determine if it is feasible to enclose the parking area and accommodate the desired outcome of the planning department. Aside from the support of Metro government departments and council members, I wanted to present information provided to me by parking management company PMC. You may reference the letter from PMC in the package of information submitted to the BZA. PMC provides parking services across the country. Their services, they service many of the hotels in the downtown and surrounding area with valet, shuttle, paid lot, and bell services. Servicing a vast number of hotels within the urban core of Nashville, PMC has the ability of collecting data on hotel parking operations. Their data suggests that the drive-in rate for Fieldhouse Jones should average 45%. I think it is important to recognize that PMC is not in the business to convince hotels that parking needs are lower than code requirements. It doesn't exactly increase their revenue model. With the data point provided by PMC, I would like to take a moment to run through the numbers. Please note that the analysis is based upon the highest density use that would be considered for the space. If the entire parking area facing Main Street were enclosed and converted into restaurant space, the parking requirement for the hotel and restaurant would be 123 spaces per code requirement. If you take into consideration the data point of 45% drive-in rate, the total parking requirement for the hotel and restaurant would be reduced to 103 spaces. By using 103 spaces as the benchmark based upon hotel and restaurant use, I can now provide you with the number of spaces we have available if the parking on Main was converted to restaurant use. On-site lower-level garage parking is 56 spaces. Off-site parking at 805 Main Street is 23 spaces. Off-site parking at 807 Main Street is 10 spaces. This brings us to a total of 89 spaces. This still leaves us short by 14 spaces. Our original request was allow for a variance of 46 spaces. At this time, we are willing to reduce our request to a variance of 32 spaces if our solution for accommodating space for other vehicles is not acceptable. However, to accommodate these other vehicles, I will add that the lot located across the street at 800 Main will become available as of January 1, 2018 as a paid parking lot for neighborhood use. It will be managed by Premier Parking and provide an opportunity for public parking at a cost for the surrounding businesses and their patrons. As this is the case, we can accommodate the additional 14 spaces and then some if the availability at 800 Main is recognized. Again, I appreciate the opportunity to address the board and hope that this information and support from the Metro departments and council members was helpful in your decision. Thank you.
Thank you for that, and it's exactly what I think we need to kind of make this recommendation. Nashville's growing. We have a lot of cars. We have a lot of hotels. We have a lot of cranes. You're in one of the most desirable parts of Nashville that has a lot of bars, restaurants, and new housing. And so my concern was basically if you're building a hotel in the city, we love hotels. We love the people that visit us, that there would be enough spaces. And what you have provided us from PMZ Parking, which is one of the premier, valet management parking companies in the country, based on their real numbers of Nashville, the drive-in rate that they said Nashville is between 32 and 42%. And as you pointed out, they took a higher number, more conservative number, 45%. So I think given your desire to have retail space and your decrease of the number of spaces that you've asked for, I think that this sounds like deliberation, but I'm just telling you because you came back to us, and I appreciate your giving us data, because I think that's what we really needed. And like I said, I never questioned that this was a good place to put a hotel. I was just concerned about the cars and such. So questions of the applicant?
I have comments, questions, maybe. I think this might be the first parking variance that I've personally heard, so it's a little bit uncharted territory for me. I don't know about the rest of the board members. And so it's difficult because all the Metro departments want this and they're putting it on us, and you have to show a hardship, and this is just, I feel like it's more a legislative thing like I mentioned before. But it seems, if I heard you right, your hardship is that maybe not so much of the topography, but it's more that the Metro departments are asking you for some.
I think that it's more the transit corridor. Talk more about that.
Yeah, give us more of the hardship that brings you here and why we should.
Because last time you were here, you were talking about the transit corridor, that you wanted something that just didn't have cars going in and out. You wanted retail. So talk to us about that.
Okay.
Was it you that wanted retail, or was it the planning department that was?
Yes. So I do want to back up for a minute and try to address it appropriately, is that this all came about from the desire of Metro Planning when we were in front of the MDHA Design Board Committee. It was suggested that, hey, we'd like to activate the street. We will allow you to have this parking garage. We would probably prefer you not to have that, but it is allowable, and you have presented a design that is in line with the intent of the East Bank Redevelopment District. So I pledge to them that I'm more than happy to go through the process and see if we can make this happen, but I need to go ahead and continue moving forward, and they said fine. The hardship in terms of being able to get additional parking on that site have to do with both, and this is, and I want to address that specifically about the hardship, not about the desire of planning, which is we have both a topography issue on the site, as well as there is a combo storm sewer line that traverses across the property itself that would not allow us to create a parking garage that could go further down, because the turning ability within the space that we'd have available, you can't get a space count in there. So it really, the topography and then the public easements that we have just don't allow us to build additional.
And thanks
on
for
there.
that. I didn't recall that from the last time. It's been a while.
Sure,
so
of course.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Not a problem.
Other questions? Okay, so do you have anything else to add?
No, sir.
Okay, we're going to close the public hearing. So I'll start off again by saying I was a major critic of this last time because I didn't think that they had done a lot of due diligence, but now they've done an extreme amount of due diligence about the number of cars that come into Nashville with tourists in this kind of hotel. They have the enthusiastic support of their councilperson, Brett Withers, and the neighboring councilperson, Scott Davis, whose district backs on this property. I think that this is one of those situations where they have gotten a parking company to give us numbers that they probably don't normally give out, and it's really helpful for this case, so we appreciate that. One of the things that I'm not sure if our architect board members know about me is probably about 5 or 6 years ago, I took the LEED accredited professional test. One of, I think, 300 lawyers back then who were LEED accredited professionals. Yes, I passed. It's very hard. And of course, you learned about
I've taken it, so I can endorse that it's
much
congratulations on passing.
Harder than the bar for me. But what I learned about, green building, and they wanted to kind of have builders build things that didn't require as many cars and parking spaces and look at other options. And so you all have done that, and you all have, in my mind, proven the burden that you have, that the people that come here often take Uber or some other taxis or public transportation, we hope. And I know we have another case coming up, but one of the things about hotel parking now, if you go to any good hotel, it's usually around $25 or $30. So I think that's also kind of a deterrent for a lot of people that come to our city to, they just take some other form of transportation. So that being said, I think that this is a good case for approval. Okay, I will move that we approve case 228, giving them the variance of the parking requirement to allow in the MUGA district and allow them to construct the commercial space with reduced parking due to the hardships of the sewer line and the topography of the lot, and that they have given us real numbers from Nashville about the unnecessary need for building that many parking spaces.
I'll second it.
Good. Motion's been made and properly seconded. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Good luck. Thank you for investing in Nashville. John Michael.
Mr. Chairman, the next case to be presented to the board is case number 2017-272. It may sound familiar. HP Architecture is the appellant, AJ Capital, the owner of the property located at 2000 West End Avenue, just at the near the center of the West End corridor. The request is for a variance from parking requirements for a hotel project. This is located in the MUIA zoning district. The reduction proposed in the original application was to go down from 202 spaces to 117. The same section of the Metro Zoning Code 1720.030 is what applies. After the staff's initial brief presentation, there'll be a presentation from the appellants with regard to their variance request. The aerial here shows you where the old Checkers hamburger place was and still stands at the moment.
And where the old Wallace University School was 100 years ago.
When Mr. Ewing was one of its foremost students at that time.
Great school in Nashville.
The site plan submitted is much more involved than this, but this at least gives a jumping-off point for purposes of understanding the proposed layout of the subject property. From my somewhat recent site visit, a reminder of the face of the property from the corner there, and then a view down into the interior of the lot a little bit more. The view looking back west end westbound toward 440 in the upper left-hand corner, and then up 20th there on the lower portion. Is there anyone here in opposition to case number 272? Seeing none, the appellants will have 10 minutes to make the desired presentation, and while they're getting started, I'm going to back out of my presentation and set up a flash drive for theirs.
Okay, welcome to the BZA. Let's get started again. Another hotel case, an upscale hotel case with a parking variance, so please begin. Identify yourself for the record and your address.
Thank you all, and thank you for hearing us. My name is Tom Pope. I'm a partner with HPA, representing the architect of record as well as the applicant in this address. I'm here also with the ownership team with AJ Capital, as well as the parking consultant team with Premier Parking.
I am Josh Mincer, 1 West Superior, Chicago. I represent AJ Capital Partners here with my colleague Dan Shore. We are a real estate development company based out of Chicago, focusing in hospitality. We are the developer of the Thompson Hotel, which opened last year and we're very proud of. We also have a brand of hotels called Graduate Hotels that we establish in vibrant college markets. So we're here to discuss our Graduate Nashville Hotel, which we're looking forward to introducing to Vanderbilt University.
I've read about those in the Wall Street Journal.
Well, as you know, the purpose for a visit here today is we're asking for a parking reduction variance from the zoning required 202 spaces to 117 spaces, and of which we propose to have 19 on-site spaces and the balance through remote means. A high-level description of our project, we are proposing a 12-story new construction graduate brand hotel with 203 keys, and we are holding a combination of lobby and retail and amenity spaces on floors 2 and 12, which I'll walk through. But before I get into that, Josh, anything else you'd like to say about AJ?
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
The site, of course, is at the corner of 20th and West End, as you can see. Currently home to a Checkers restaurant. Getting into the site plan here, the main drive up and drop off areas to the northeast, which is along 20th. And we're proposing a drive-in with a canopy area, which is on a one-way route to the north. All of our loading and below-grade parking is to the north along the public alley, as well as trash pickup and recycling. And then to the south along West End, we're showing an open arcade, which is a spill-out space for the retail and lobby areas. Looking at the first floor, we have a combination of lobby, kitchen areas, restaurant, tenant space, which again open out to our open-air plaza to the south there. And our main garage access in the building is via a ramp to the north. In the basement area, we're proposing 19 total spaces, and this plan that's shown right here is conceptual. We understand that we'll have some additional mechanical needs, primarily along the south, along West End. So we know that this plan is going to have some adjustment to it, but based on the constraints of the basement and the setbacks, this is what we're currently proposing. So moving up to the second floor, we have a combination of ballroom, pre-function space, meeting rooms, and an outdoor terrace. And just to show you a little bit of what we plan to bring to the neighborhood, these are examples on the right there of Soho House in Chicago and Chicago Athletic Association, which are also projects with AJ Capital. And just to show you the quality of the design that we'd like to bring, nice materials, attention to detail, nice open outdoor spaces with active seating areas. Moving up to the typical guest room floor, floors 3 through 11. As I mentioned, we have a total of 203 keys. We have a combination of double queens and kings. The form of the building is an L-shaped form, and the reason for that is we're trying to hold as much mass to the corner of the street and allow for as much open area to our neighbors to the west. And then moving up to the 12th floor, another amenity space. We're showing a combination of kitchen, restaurant, and additional private function space with an outdoor amenity deck with a linear pool. And again here, the idea is to have some gracious outdoor space flanked with a landscape buffer around the roof terrace. One of the things we really appreciate about Nashville, and this is the first time we're working in Nashville, so we're excited about working with you folks, is the historic precedence and the texture that's there in Nashville. So what our goal is with our elevations and our design concept is to bring a little bit of this historic fabric into our design.
And I like the use of the Star Piano building on Fifth Avenue that up there at the top that most people probably don't recognize. But
yeah, these are all, there's an artist, black and white photographer in Nashville who took all these.
And obviously the Hermitage Hotel, classic too.
So this is looking at our west end elevation, and this really ties directly into, partially into our request for our variance of less parking on site. One of the things that we're really interested in is controlling the street wall and just making sure that it's a well-proportioned, considerate wall that has a lot of transparency that allows for a maximum amount of active space that is along both public right-of-ways, and also has a sensible height in the cornice line, which we feel speaks to a lot of the 2- and 3-story buildings, historic buildings that are in Nashville. So here you can see some of the detailing that we're planning to bring, a combination of brick and metal panel detailed spandrels and column caps, some finer detail and more delicate archway work up at the top and along the base, and intermixed with some parquet and herringbone brick spandrels. The twist to this is we like the building to kind of look more like an existing building that has a little bit of a modern slice to it. And so that more industrial grid that you see kind of in the background on the left would help add a little bit of contrast and help make the two main street elevations seem more special. And then moving to the 20th Avenue elevation here, again, you could see the continuation of the detailing, kind of the sensitive nature of the storefront. Again, we want to maximize the amount of transparency and openness and activity along the public right-of-way. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to our parking consultant.
Hi, good afternoon. Brian Crawford, 2641 Cages Bend Road. I'm with Premier Parking. I've been doing this for about 15 years in Nashville mostly, so I've got a lot of experience with this. With Premier Parking, along with our valet and commercial and healthcare operations, we actually do a lot of consulting and planning work for those kind of operations. So we were brought into this program to kind of help, similar to what you heard before, kind of analyze and look at our comp set data to help understand what's really needed for this operation. So what you're looking at here are the zoning requirements and then the adjustment that's allowed to it to ultimately add up to 202 spaces is what's required by zoning. Based on our comp set models, similar hotels that we operate in the city, and the information that we gathered through the ULI model, we came to a total of 117 spaces at peak is what we need. So with the 19 spaces on site, there are several operations that Premier operates in the very nearby area where we can secure the additional 98 to 100 spaces that are needed to support the hotel's operation. When you look at some of the hotels in the area...
Back up. So
go ahead, sure.
I think that's a very important point.
Sure.
So what you said, it sounded like the Premier manages some nearby lots that if there were any overflow, that employees or other people could be directed to park over there. Is that correct?
So in this operation, we will secure those lots specifically for the hotel. So those 100 spaces will be a leased option for the hotel and fully used for the hotel.
Okay. And Premier, how many states are you in?
32 cities all across the country.
32 cities. So this is what you do. You're
Yes, sir. And this is our home court.
And you're homegrown. And the thing that I also like, and you weren't here months ago, but with the East Nashville people, you have given us real data from very comparable hotels, the Thompson, the Kimpton, the 21C, that show their parking numbers and their drive-in rate or drive-up rate. So I think that's very relevant and on point. So you feel that this property, even given its proximity to Vanderbilt and the people that would come and stay there, given that they have a slightly different model, would still be in the lines of these other properties.
I agree. The one thing, and I heard you talk earlier about the Uber, we call it the Uber effect. The drive-in rate in this city specifically has declined over the last 3 to 4 years.
What was it 3 or 4 years ago?
So 4 years ago, it was probably in the mid-40s across the market. Downtown, with the addition of the convention center and allowing for more global reach for guests coming to town and not so much local guests or regional guests, the drive-in has declined. We've seen 4 to 5 points every year over the last probably 3 to 4 years. In the West End corridor, I would say the 32 to 35% is very realistic. Downtown, even when the Omni first opened in 2013, its first year was in the 38% range. It's at 28% now, just in 4 short years.
Yeah. So that number will probably at least be level or just continue to inch down.
It will decline. It will level off at some point in the near future, but I do see it declining further. Probably overall the entire market, including West End and downtown, I'd say in the high 20s, low 30s.
Now, not to sound like an economist, but are the prices that these hotels charge, is that some
of it.
Elastic curve
Agree.
that also affects the number of people that decide to drive in?
Absolutely. If you're a guest that's flying into town and you look at the cost to rent a car, move for parking, and in this day and age, you're not just paying for parking at your hotel, you're paying for parking at restaurants or anywhere else you go, even if it's outside of town. And then you look at the cost of what it could be just to Uber downtown, it's a much more economical option. It's also why a lot of hotels, especially on the West End side, offer shuttle services throughout the downtown area.
So you have no reservations about, no pun intended, reservations, about this having fewer than the code implies parking?
I don't, not in this area specifically.
And what I would say to you and others that are watching, particularly council people, it sounds like our zoning laws requiring number of parking spaces for hotels are outdated, and they should probably be changed to kind of reflect what's going on today.
I would also just add in another comment, Daniel Shore with AJ Capital Partners. So we engaged with Premier to operate our parking at the Thompson in the Gulch. So that's actually a larger hotel, 224 rooms. It was in a different zoning district whereby there wasn't any parking requirement. We ended up building 68 parking spots, which is below what we're asking for, even with the reduction here. And even there, we find ourselves overparked. Essentially, we have more spots than we need. Over the last year that we've been open, we've had about a 30% drive-in utilization. So just kind of real-time data to assist in your analysis.
And I understand the data that we've got in this drive-up, this sheet here, not sure. And so it looks to me like you're basing the number requested on 100% occupancy, but what you're telling us is the average occupancy is only 60%. Am I reading that correctly?
What hotel in Nashville has 60% occupancy? Come on.
That seems a little low to me.
So, yeah, so if you look at the other model, I believe we're actually assuming 90%, and then you apply 35% to that to get the total 32% that you then multiply by the 203 rooms. So that number, the 60%, does not tie into our exact calculation.
Yeah, newsflash, Nashville's hot right now. I'm still concerned about the employees. So where are the employees going to park? And, I saw that there was this 4-to-1 ratio, but, obviously, some will take the bus, some will maybe Uber in, but where are the employees going to park? Who wants that one?
So again, a lot of hotels bring us on because we secure a lot of parking in the Nashville area. And so this is something we partner with early on to identify not only what are we going to handle the guest parking, but how can we take care of all the employees as well. So like I said, we have several lots in the area that we already operate, and we will look to lease specifically for this operation. We're also in negotiations to add more onto that as well.
Okay.
I guess I would also just add, this is an upper upscale hotel, but it's a model whereby we try and limit necessarily the number of employees. And,
that aren't needed. It's not luxury from that orientation. It's
So
more.
you're not as full scale as some of these others that might have, like your competitor Lowe's might have more employees per room than
Correct.
you do. Is that
Correct.
what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay, that makes sense too. Questions?
Well, I appreciate all the data. It's very well done. But what is your actual hardship?
So I think it's in two parts. The first part is just mainly architecturally. We want to deliver the building that we've presented. We think that it's really important to not do an overbearing, massive parking garage that is either raises the entire building or blocks any kind of active space that faces the public realm. That's really, I think, the main driver for us architecturally. I think the second part is from an efficiency standpoint, we feel that building additional area for spaces that we're not necessarily going to need is somewhat wasteful, not just from a sustainability standpoint, but just from a constructability standpoint.
What about building down?
Building down is possible, but it is extremely difficult in Nashville due to the type of soil, specifically where we're at. We're essentially blasting our rock out in order to get one level below grade. I'm sure you've heard that before. You're aware of it.
I'm an architect, and
Yeah.
we deal with this all the time.
Right. But that would be that's the main driver on why we would rather not go below grade with additional spaces.
Okay, any other questions?
That's hardly a hardship, though, in this area. I think she's asking what is the actual hardship.
I think if you're having underground parking, I mean, blasting, that is,
No,
I mean, maybe
if we're going to
normal.
deliberate when it's time.
Okay. Any other things to add? Okay. We will close the public hearing. Discussion. So once again, I'd like to commend the applicant on bringing us real and current and very relevant data. As Premier Parking said, they're in 35 cities and growing, so they're very knowledgeable about this stuff. So, discussion. They want
Well,
parking.
regarding the blasting, I mean, that's done all over Nashville. There's a lot of rock in Nashville, and a lot of people are blasting it out to put in their underground parking garages. And, I'm not sure I'm sold on the hardship. Yeah, I appreciate the fact, not overbuilding. You're talking about sustainability. I appreciate all that. I'm just struggling with the hardship.
Well, I think this falls in the catch-all category that our zoning laws have not kept up with what's going on in the city. We had testimony today from a national parking company telling us about the decline of the number of people that stay at our upscale hotels and cars, and it's going down every year, and that these codes, the old parking requirements, were probably written decades ago when everybody drove in here on their vacation, and maybe they didn't use an airport, or parking back then was either free at hotels or very minimal. So, like I said, I hope the council fixes that, but I just don't think that us requiring, an outdated number, which this applicant and the other applicant kind of proved is not what is going on in our market, is what we should be about.
I agree. I think we need to redefine hardship.
Well, maybe not redefine, but in this situation, I think they've met the burden of proving why they should be granted this variance. And for that reason, I will make a recommendation that we approve case 272, variance from the parking requirements in the MUI-A district from 202 to 117, and due to the fact that it is harder for them to go underground, and that basically they have proven that the number of cars that will be coming into their hotel on any given day is much less than what the code requires, based on real and recent data for Nashville hotels. Motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and properly seconded. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ooh. So, John Michael, tell us what happens now.
Although the board can entertain a second motion if they wish, I have a sneaking suspicion we know what that motion would be and what its vote would be. Therefore, if there is no motion that achieves 4 affirmative votes in today's meeting, then the case will stay open for the next 30 days. At our next board meeting, board members who were not present for this hearing will have the opportunity to have reviewed both the documented case file and the recording of today's hearing and place their votes accordingly, as was the case earlier today on another matter where Ms. Chappell cast her, or had the chance to cast her vote as well. So we would reconvene with this matter on November the 16th.
So in English, for our out-of-town friends,
Come on back on the 16th. We can see if we can get you some votes.
You did not get 4 votes. There are 2 members of this board that are missing. They will hopefully review this record, and they will be eligible to vote on the 16th. So it is not a defeat, it's a delay until, some side either gets 4 votes. So if the 2 members vote no, then you lose the case, but if one of the 2 members votes yes for this variance, you get it. So
Understood.
That's where we are.
Thank you.
We will see you soon. John Michael.
Mr. Chairman, the next case for the board's consideration is 2017-280, originally contemplated for the consent agenda. There is opposition present. Therefore, Merdad Rebei, the appellant and owner of the property located at 2408 Dickerson Pike, will make his request for a variance from the sidewalk requirements in the CS zoning district as part of the construction project for a warehouse at an auto salvage yard location. The property endured fire damage somewhat recently, and therefore this reconstruction is in conjunction with the restoration of the business operations at that location. The aerial photo here shows the business in a somewhat recent aerial photo and gives you an idea of the layout. The site plan submitted demonstrates the proposed location of the structure in question. And from my recent site visit, a view into the interior of the property at the lower right-hand corner, view across the street above, and of some note, the view up and down Dickerson Pike. Here in these 2 photographs demonstrate no sidewalk anywhere near there. However, you do have your recommendation from the planning department on this case, which I believe was a recommendation for approval of the variance request for the reasons stated in their recommendation. But we will hear from the appellant as well as the opponent of the case. If the appellant will please come forward. I see you're already there, sorry. Reverend, introduce yourself by name and address and make the desired presentation.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Mehta Rabi, 2408 Dickerson Pike, Nashville, Tennessee 37207. On the May 27, 2017, Memorial Day weekend, it was pretty much raining very, very hardly, and a tow truck lost control coming down, and his hydraulics pretty much torn, and his tow truck, and another vehicle ran into our building and set it on fire. So the building was an office, a small place, a small warehouse itself, and also garages. It was about 4,400 square feet, and all got destroyed in a couple hours. Pretty much today's variance is that it is still the same use. It's not going to be an office or a garage. It will be just a warehouse to keep materials that are not burned over there. And as well, I am doing this so that it would be in front of the salvage yard, and also we are cleaning up the place a lot. And in the next few months, there will be a massive amount of cleanings and to go forth. So other than the fact that it has to be raised about 13 feet for it to be set on a sidewalk. It needs to be a retainer wall, and pretty much that it is still the same use. It is not a new building. It's not a new business. It is the same business, and it's being kept the same thing.
What's the difference between the building that was destroyed by the fire versus what you're building? Is it basically the same size, or is it a little bit bigger?
It's bigger. It's a lot bigger. It's 70 feet by 100 feet. The 70 feet, we're trying to put
Yeah, Councilman Scott Davis, who's in support of you, said that you were putting some of the supplies that are inside this.
Yes, we're trying to pretty much get rid of as many vehicles as we can. And we're trying to, and the second picture down, we're trying to put the building there so that it would cover most of the junkyard or the salvage yard as it would not be seen. Yeah, and we will, and that is my main objective, just not to cover as much as I can, as most as I can.
Or at least from the street level. That's a good
Exactly.
overhead spot that it looks like still you'll have a lot of things, but you'll just have a different street presence.
Yes, and the building, after the variance, the building will be cleaned up, and hopefully the insurance companies, it will be cleaned up, and the white line that you see will be stretched, which is a fence that will be stretched all the way towards the building, so that it will be fully unable to see anything. It will be fully covered, so that it will keep the view much cleaner. It will be nice. Because my main objective would be is to clean it up as much as I can.
So why are you requesting a variance from the sidewalk requirements here?
Because we're not changing the business. We're not doing anything different. It is just a unfortunate event that happened that...
So someone ran into your building and caught fire, so that's really why you're here, because
Yes.
you had to do it. Okay. Anything else to add?
That pretty much covers it. Also, the northbound of the sidewalk, or where it go, yes, all the way to the third street pole, there's also a bridge. And to meet the requirements for water department, it needs to be raised all the way up to the bridge.
What needs to be raised up to the bridge?
The level, up to the street level.
Are you going to have to do that?
It's about 40, and that's why I'm trying to get the variance. If that happens, it's 43 feet of
Oh,
snow.
you're talking about this. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Any questions for the applicant? Okay, we're going to hear from the opposition. You'll be able to come back after this.
Thank you.
Please state your name, your address, and why you're opposed to this.
Hi, my name is Don Dillahay. I live at 104 Donald Street. I received a notice to be here, and I'm the former president of the Capitol View Neighbors Association. I'm thinking the reason why I was notified is because I'm on the 100-year floodplain that Michael owns across the street that is related to this business, so to speak. As you said, and thank you, members of the board, and for the opportunity to talk. As you said, Nashville is growing, and we have an urban development plan that is proposed by the mayor to build lots of housing down Dickerson Road. This area is right in relation to a school zone. We need those sidewalks for the kids that goes to Tom Joyce School. Also, when it rains heavily, that area is subjected to a lot of water that the curbing for the sidewalks and the drainage would greatly improve to get the water out of the middle of the street when it rains heavily.
Okay. Any questions of the opposition? Okay. Thank you. Anything else to add?
One thing I would like to add, it really surprises me that as many people that I've talked to in the neighborhood that really want the sidewalks, and my council person is in District 8. The property in question, it's Mr. Davis. And it really surprises me that someone wouldn't want those sidewalks.
Thank you. We're going to hear from the applicant again, rebuttal time. Please come forward. Okay, so he's saying sidewalks, there's an elementary school nearby. What do you say to that?
So between my property and the elementary school, there are many other businesses, and none of them have sidewalks, and there are some are new businesses. And also, there is, for the past 4 years that I've been here, and the school has been built, as far as I can remember, 2 years ago, there has never been one student walking by. All the students get freely picked up by the bus and dropped off, no matter how far they are. And the second proportion on the sidewalk, actually the sidewalk will stop and it will enforce the water to go very, very quickly into the river, into the creek that's back there. So it would actually cause the water level to raise. And as I didn't hear, that doesn't have to do anything with the other side of the street because, well, we're not on the other side of the street. We're on this side of the street, and everything is to our side. So that would actually make the water go straight into the creek. And as of right now, the water disperses from the street level down to the creek.
Where's the creek located?
That line that goes behind it. As it's yes, that one in the topography. Yes, right there.
Where the trees are. Is it in those trees? Is it?
Yes, and there has been the previous owner put roughly about $30,000. Put buffers. There's a 30-foot buffer around it. Everything is up to code and has came up to code to make sure that it does comply with the codes that has set for after. So from pretty much water department, everything is as it should be. The only difference is the burnt building.
And Mr. Chairman, as the reference to government standards on these projects has come up, a member of the planning department staff who has reviewed the sidewalk question is present, has patiently waited for this exact case, and is willing to come forward and address the board if the board's like to hear from
We
you.
would absolutely like that. So please come forward and talk to us about sidewalks in this particular case.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for entertaining
Please identify
this.
yourself and your address for the record.
My name is Peter Bird, and I'm a transportation planner with... Oh, thought I was holding it. My name is Peter Bird, and I'm a transportation planner at the Metro Planning Department. And I personally had reviewed this case, and I just wanted to clarify that planning's recommendation, the main piece that we based our decision off of, was that it was essentially a hardship that wasn't self-imposed, that it was due to the fire. Dickerson Pike is slated for a high-capacity transit. It's a place where we would definitely prioritize sidewalks, and that even the topography is something that wouldn't have changed the decision. But keeping with precedent on other cases, the fact that it was a fire that destroyed the building, there's no change of use, and it's just reconstructing the building. That's really the crux of why we came to the decision to approve the request.
So sometime in the future, you foresee sidewalks on Dickerson Pike?
Yes. Yeah, and absent the fire.
That the city will build.
Yes. Yeah, it would be part of the transit corridor project, and if this weren't due to a fire, we would have definitely recommended sidewalks to be constructed.
And as you remember, last meeting, we had a fire in North Nashville, Bordeaux, and we approved that variance. Any questions for our planning department? Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Anything else to add?
No, thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to close the public hearing discussion.
So it's not our first fire, but is it our first drive-through fire?
I've never heard of a drive-through
Yes.
I don't think we've ever had a car.
Yes,
or a
he
truck.
decided to make a drive-through with another vehicle behind him.
Okay, so discussion.
Well, I mean, I would defer to the planning recommendation in this case. That's a very strong recommendation they've made based on the fact that this was not a self-imposed need for the request for the variance. And given those statements, my leaning would be to recommend the variance.
And that basically this is a transit corridor, and when they build kind of some light rail or whatever, there will be all sorts of stops and sidewalks and benches and such. Motion.
I make a motion that we approve the request for variance based upon the planning department recommendation, and that there not be an in lieu contribution required.
Okay, motion's been made, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. John Michael.
The next case to be presented to the board is a short-term rental case. Jeremy McCoy is the appellant and owner of the property at 2437 Branch Street. It's an appeal of the denial of a short-term rental permit, with the denial having been predicated on the applicant having operated prior to obtaining the legally required permit. Aerial photo of the subject property shown here, and the frontage from the assessor's website photograph. I'll see Mr. McCoy is present. If you would introduce yourself by name and address, make the desired presentation.
Yes, I'm Jeremy McCoy, 2437 Branch Street is my address. Yeah, so my wife and I bought this house last year. Actually, technically bought it in the end of the year before that, but it took us a while to renovate it. It was a very large project for us, and by the end of it, we were pretty tight financially, and kind of staring down the barrel of like having to sell the place, because I don't think we couldn't really afford it at that point. And so a friend of mine just said, hey man, why don't you throw this up on Airbnb? I bet you can cover your costs a little bit. And so as an experiment, we did that. And I, of course, obviously didn't do any due diligence on that, my mistake. And so we immediately started getting bookings on the weekends, and it was super helpful for us. And then at some point, I got a letter in the mail saying that we were in violation. So I'm asking for the ability to permit it correctly and do it the right way.
Questions?
So, how did you stop renting it once you received the notice?
We immediately, yeah, as soon as I found out we were, in violation, I took it off.
And took down your advertisement?
Yeah.
And did you have to cancel any reservations?
Yes, we did.
How many?
2. Not pleased, obviously, with that deal, but it is what it is.
Any other questions?
Maybe I don't understand some of the documents in our packet. Are you rented for November 17th?
November 17th.
We have a
I don't think
listing.
so.
We'll ask Mr. Osborne about that. So you were not living in this house and you were renting it out?
No, we are living in the house.
And so you were renting out for $575 a night?
Well, weekends. I mean, it just depends on how many people, to be honest.
How many people would you rent it to?
Well, up to 14.
14?
It has 7 beds. It typically is not that much.
Where'd you get that 14 number?
Because there are 7 beds in the house.
Okay.
And they're all double beds, so.
Any questions before we hear from Mr. Osborne?
So you live in the house and you can rent it to 14 people, and where do you?
So my family lives in Gallatin, and so it's easy for us to just kind of skip over there and stay a couple of days or whatever.
So there was a review listing from August 2017. Jeremy was an incredible host.
Yes.
And it goes on to say the home is very accommodating up to our group of 14. So there you go.
Yeah, we have had groups of 14. It's typically
How many
more
groups
like
of 14?
10, 11-ish.
Okay.
It varies. It just depends.
Okay, any more questions before we talk to Mr. Osborne?
Well, maybe just as information, and I'm probably not the one to speak to it, but I didn't think 14 guests were allowed.
They are not.
Okay.
Even with licensed homes, but we'll talk to Mr. Osborne. Mr. Osborne,
Yeah,
forward. How'd you find out about this, and what'd you do?
We received a Codes Online complaint, at which point I found the listing on Airbnb, and I went out to post a stop work order.
Were there ever any noise or other complaints about this house?
Not to my knowledge.
So, Mr. Osborne, when you read these reviews, which I imagine that you've given us, and they talk about a party of 14, tell us and the applicant how many people are allowed under our laws for even licensed Airbnbs.
It depends on the number of bedrooms in the house.
But what's the maximum number?
Maximum would be 12.
12. Okay.
And if they advertise over that maximum, they would definitely get a letter, and more than likely it'd be submitted for revocation.
So even if you have a permit in the future, 12 is the most?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I did not know that.
Other questions for Mr. Osborne?
Well, I think I understand that the notice to correct violation is dated August 28th, and the date of the filing for this appeal is September 18th. I believe that's correct. Maybe that's not a question to answer, but maybe not for Mr. Osborne, but it seemed like you didn't go right away to codes to correct the situation? Or?
I went, well, one, I do travel for a living. I'm a musician, so it took me a couple of weeks to kind of get there because it, you know, as you know, you have to sit there for quite a while. So finding a day to do it was very difficult. But as soon as I discovered the mail, you know, I learned by the mail. You know, I did, you know, as soon as I could. It was my first opportunity. I took it seriously. I mean, I wasn't blowing it off.
But you took down your advertising.
Yeah, immediately.
Right after.
Yeah, as soon as I got that mail, I took down the advertising and stopped, you know, advertising the thing. So.
Any other questions? Do you have anything else to add?
I'm sorry. You know,
how did you not know? Because if our council person was here that authored the legislation, she's always still incredulous that nobody would, after this law has been in effect for such a while, that knows that we actually regulate this. How did you not know?
I just didn't look, honestly. It was just a lack of due diligence on my part. I've rented houses in the past. I actually have a rental property in 12 South. Mm-hmm. And as far in my mind, I was just thinking it was like a rental, like you just rent it to whoever you want, really. I didn't realize that the short-term thing was another thing altogether. So.
Okay. Going to close the public hearing. Discussion. What do we think?
Well, it seems like another mistake that we've heard over and over. I don't think we can address the 14 people. That's not for us to address.
If it matters, I will not. I did not know that, and I will not absolutely do that anymore. Yeah.
Okay, so
I would say maybe a 3-month penalty from the date of the filing for this appeal, which was September 18th.
So that would be, what, December 18th? Okay.
You can make a motion.
Make a motion.
Sure, I'll move to that the zoning administrator did not err and that the applicant be eligible for a permit on December 18th, 2017.
Okay. Motion's been made. Is there a second? Motion's been made and properly seconded. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion. Oh, no. Okay, it's 4-1. So you are eligible to apply for a permit on December 18th. That's our ruling.
Could I ask a question about that?
Sure, of course.
So my application was denied.
Mm-hmm.
Will I need to resubmit the same paperwork again?
You will probably, I mean, basically, but you'll probably need to update it. And of course, you cannot rent between now until you duly have a permit.
Yes, sir.
Or list. Listing is also illegal.
Yes,
Okay?
sir. Appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, next, John Michael.
Mr. Chairman, the next case is 2017-302, involving the property at 821 Shelby Avenue, shown here, right there at the intersection of 9th and Shelby. Terry Richardson is the appellant, TKR Residential Care Home.
Please come forward. Terry Richardson.
The TKR Residential Care Home LLC is the owner of the property located at 821 Shelby. The request is for a change in legally nonconforming use, as we sometimes call it casually, an item D case. We don't see as many of these as we used to, so we'll move through it and answer any questions that the board might need answered. The location here, as you see in the aerial right at that intersection, From my recent site visit, the property in its current condition, that's in the lower right-hand portion looking back up the street on 9th, then due across the street in the upper left-hand portion. The lower right-hand picture here shows the site back in toward downtown, down Shelby Avenue. For the board members who may not have had many of the legally non-conforming cases, this is 17.40.650 that governs this body of law. This is a property and a matter that has been before the board in the past, in the distant past, in fact, to establish the permission to use the property for adult daycare or adult center kind of operations. This is an attempt to go back to adult care as the primary use of the subject property. You've heard from the council member on the subject as well.
Not the adult daycare that our senator talked about.
Naturally, staff will be glad to answer any questions you may have. However, the appellant is present, and if you would, please identify yourself by name and address, and then just address the board however you see fit.
I'm Terry Richardson, 821 Shelby Avenue. I have been a provider for adult daycare. There have been a lot of different names for them: homes for the aged, supportive living, residential living, transitional, all of it. So that's why the mix-up is. But I've been a provider for over 20 plus years. I've decided to go back as a supportive living, which is to take care of highly functioning clients who are mentally ill or elderly, because I just found that there was more of a need than the adult daycare. Most people will call me and continuously say, well, I know you're in adult daycare, but we need someone to keep our loved one overnight, and we wish we would go back to that, from the hospitals to the mental health centers. I just found that there's more of a need as a supportive living provider.
Besides our regulation, tell us who else regulates you, the city, state? I mean, tell us.
It's the license is through the state, licensed through the Tennessee Mental Health and Substance Abuse licensure.
So they have site visits, they come out?
Yeah, they come out, maybe twice a year in the beginning, and then once a year after that.
And how many people will you have in this facility?
I was licensed for 18 because I am sprinkled.
You're what?
I'm sprinkled. I have a sprinkler system all the way through the building. So it was 12 first, and then when I added the sprinkler system, 18.
And where will most of the people just be confined to here? Will they even get to go outside?
Oh, yeah. They generally, what we do, most of them are in a day program. These are highly functioning people who they just need some assistance in the ADLs and things of that nature. But generally, we send them to places like 50 Ford, Centennial, some of the community centers.
And you have the enthusiastic support of your councilman, Brett Withers.
Yes.
So any question for the applicant? In the past, some of these kind of cases, we used to go on consent, but we want to hear and talk to the people that do daycare for children or adults, just to talk to them and make sure that, everything is what we think, as opposed to just passing it on consent. So we appreciate you being here and waiting, but that's why you're here. Thank you. Anything else to add? And you're here, so let's hear from you.
My name is Marva Southall. I live at 110 River Chase Boulevard, and I'm here to attest to the wonderful care that she gives her clients.
Okay. And what is your experience with that, or do you work in the field?
I do not work in that field. However, I have been there many times, off and on, and I have talked to 2 of her clients there.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. We really appreciate you being here and appreciate what you do. Thank you. So we are going to, questions?
Oh, it wasn't a question. There was a letter of support in the file. Maybe you're aware of it.
Reverend Donald L. Smith.
Yes.
Who says Terry Richardson is not only operates her business with integrity, but she has a sincere love for seniors. So, well done.
She does.
We are going to close the public hearing. Discussion.
Okay, there's not any opposition here. I think she's stated her case appropriately to change her non-conforming use to the supported living care. She has the support of the council member and a former client, as well as a person from the community, all in support. I can make this a motion that we approve the change in non-conforming use based on the evidence.
Okay. Motion's been made. Is there a second? Motion's been made and properly seconded. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
John Michael. I know.
Mr. Chairman, with other cases having been deferred or otherwise placed on consent, that'll bring us to case 2017-310. Brandon McDonald is the appellant. Urban Dwell Homes is the owner of the property.
Please come forward.
Located at 1036B Zophie Street in East Nashville. The request is for a variance from rear setback requirements, specifically a reduction from the 20-foot rear setback requirement down to 5, and a variance from rear buffer requirements. Before even launching into the PowerPoint presentation, I will note the urban forester has a letter on file suggesting that he has no qualms with the variance request with regard to the buffer requirement. It's an R6 zoning district property. The request would be to construct, in conjunction with the request, to construct 2 single-family houses. Although somewhat dated because it is an active site presently, the site in the upper left-hand corner there that is green in this photo is the subject site. The site plan submitted demonstrates the proposed layout of the 2 units. From my recent site visit, the now graded site ready for construction, the view across the street shows there's plenty more of that going on. And this is the view in the lower right-hand corner going back out from that dead end on Zophie. Then the view to the left shows where it ends there in the dead end area. Is there anyone here in opposition to case number 310? Seeing none, the appellant will have 10 minutes in the event he would need that much to make the desired presentation to the board. Please introduce yourself by name and address.
My name is Andrew McDonald. I live at 3011 Oakland Avenue and here in Nashville, Tennessee. And I'm here on behalf of Brandon McDonald. Thank you guys very much for your time and letting me sit before you. I'm a little nervous. This is my first time doing one of these and speaking in front of a board, so thank you for your patience. Today we're requesting the setback variance for Zophie Street due to the required sewer line and easement that cuts directly between the 2 proposed houses. Yes, thank you.
That's a good map. Yep.
Right down there through the middle. And so I think the top right hand, where the lowest part will be a 5 feet setback. We're also requesting that the landscape buffer variance so we can place our HVAC unit there at the bottom left-hand side. And the smallest setback, like I said, that we're requesting is 5 feet.
Okay, and you have the support of your councilperson, John Michael. You said the urban forester has no objections to that?
Correct.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? Do you have anything else to add?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're going to close the public hearing. Discussion. Sewer line, hardship, pretty standard. Is there discussion or motion?
I move that we grant the variances and find that the hardship is the sewer easement through the middle of the property.
Okay, motion's been made. Is there a second? Motion's been made and properly seconded. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
The next case for the board is 2017-311. Alex Crow is the appellant. C&H Properties, LLC, the owner of the property, located at 5502 Urbandale Avenue, shown here on the zoning map with its proposed HPR development in the Nations. The aerial photograph shows the property in its present condition. This is a property where they're seeking a variance from sidewalk requirements and are requesting instead to pay into the sidewalk fund in an R6 zoning district in conjunction with their request to build 2 residential units. The site plan submitted shows the proposed layout. From my recent site visit, you see the undeveloped property in the lower right-hand corner, the view across the street looking back toward I-40 in the background, and the view up and down the street in its present condition, which does, of course, provide some form of walkway, though not a formal sidewalk. As there is no one here in opposition to this case, the appellants will have 10 minutes to make the desired presentation if they should need all of those 10 minutes. Please introduce yourself by names and addresses.
Thank you. My name is Alex Craw. I live at 7712 Riverview Bend Drive in Bellevue. This is my partner, Keith Hendrick. We both comprise the appellant and owner, C&H Properties. My partner and I filed the BZA application with the hope that we could pay into the in lieu fee or build a sidewalk to match and improve the existing substandard sidewalk versus building a sidewalk per the specs for this collector street, T4RCA2. On this stretch of Urbandale Avenue, which is next to the Richland Creek It's in the flood zone, and there's only 10 properties that front that street, that stretch of Urbandale. On October 2nd, my partner and I met with the Planning and Zoning Committee of the nation's Neighborhood Association and explained our reasons for the variance request. We showed them an example of a sidewalk that we wanted to install, which would improve the existing substandard sidewalk on Urbandale. It's actually a 5-foot sidewalk that was just installed. I guess in this picture it would be further north up the street. Our address is 5502, and further north at 5514, A and B is 2 new homes similar to what we are planning there. You see on the map. Those permits were pulled before the sidewalk bill went into effect, so they improved the existing sidewalk and created a 5-foot sidewalk with a 6-inch curb and gutter. We met then, we spoke with our council person, Mary Carolyn Roberts, and met with her to get her feedback. She felt strongly that we do need to build a sidewalk to continue on Urbandale versus paying into the fee, and she completely agrees that we should build to match that new construction. Some of the hardships that we were presented on this property when we purchased it in April of 2016, half of the property was in the flood zone and half was not. Since the maps changed in March of 2017, both of the proposed builds are in the flood zone, and our neighbors to the right that we met with are in the stream buffer. So if we were to build a sidewalk per these specs, that would basically end, and whoever got off that sidewalk would have about 7 or 8 feet of walking through 5,500 Urbandale's right away, and basically front yard grass to get back onto the existing substandard sidewalk. And that is not something the property owner wanted to happen. So we feel strongly that eventually this sidewalk will be improved per those specs. Another aspect of our hardship is we have a utility pole that's in the corner of our right-of-way, and it would need to be removed, as well as every single utility pole along Urbandale Avenue, in order to build sidewalks according to the specs for this.
You're asking for a variance from the sidewalk requirement, but you wish to pay into the fund?
Well, originally, we only thought we had an option to build per the specs or to pay into the fund, and we met with the council person. She said that there is an option to build a 5-foot sidewalk, to build a sidewalk, but to get a variance for it. So that was her recommendation, that we build that sidewalk as opposed to paying into the fund.
John Michael, do we have the power to change what the council passed, what the standard of sidewalks are today?
Neither the Codes Department nor the Board of Zoning Appeals has jurisdiction over what the sidewalk standard is. Most simply stated, Codes determines the yes-no question of are sidewalks triggered. Planning, which manages the major and collector street plan, typically identifies the requirement, i.e. 6-foot sidewalk, 4-foot planter strip, and then the Public Works Department has the final overview responsibility in terms of confirming the correct construction in the field. However, in some instances, you have seen alternate sidewalk plans submitted, reviewed by the planning department, and get a recommendation specific to that plan.
But we don't have anything like that today. Because, yes, we have seen rare cases that the planning department says, well, we agree that it's hard to build a 6-foot sidewalk, curb and gutter because of some topography issues or something like that. So, absent that, I think your real options are only to build currently to what the law says or pay into the fund.
Well, we would elect to pay into the fund, and we would also build that sidewalk that we agreed with the council person, the 5-foot sidewalk. If those are our options, we'd prefer to pay into the fund with the understanding that we would.
If you pay into the fund, you don't have to build a sidewalk.
I think we would regardless.
That's an interesting question, too. So
we've told the council.
Yes.
Maybe take up the next case.
Yes. Okay. Yep.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah, one question over here.
What I'm reading, number 3 on the planning department recommendation, they say an alternate sidewalk design may be accommodated to avoid conflict with these existing utilities. So it sounds like they're willing to work with the applicant.
That's the chat I'm going to have with them right now.
Okay.
Okay, so in the meantime, can we do something else?
Thank you. As I chat with these gentlemen, we'll quickly introduce case number 2017-312 involving the property 1108A, 57th Avenue North. This, too, is a variance from sidewalk request. Thomas Brett is the appellant. The LLC that owns the property is 552 Westboro. The request, as I noted on this single-family development project, is for a variance from the sidewalk requirements. The aerial photography here shows the subject property. The site plan submitted shows a proposed layout of the HPR units. The recent site visit showed this structure that's still there presently, the view across the street in the upper left-hand corner, and the views up and down 57th at this subject location. Please introduce yourself by name and address and make the desired presentation.
Hey, good evening. My name is Thomas Brett, the principal engineer with Brett Design Build, representing the owner of the property with regards to the sidewalk variance. The owner of the property is proposing to construct a horizontal property regime to demolish the existing home and construct 2 homes on the property. This obviously triggered the sidewalk requirements under the new zoning ordinance. And I don't know if you all had a chance to read the hardship letter that I provided. It basically outlines a fundamental flaw associated with this sidewalk ordinance that does not take into account drainage once all the streets are covered with sidewalks. As you can see, the existing topography of the site, there's a roadside ditch, and as you can see in that top left photo, there are 2 new homes constructed, and they have under drains going underneath of their driveways. And basically that allows water to flow in an open drainage system such as this off of the road into a roadside ditch and then discharge downstream to a collector stream or something of that nature. By constructing this sidewalk, the developer would be required to also construct under drain along the entire frontage of the property in order to maintain the drainage system that's currently in place, which is that roadside ditch. What the sidewalk ordinance does not take into account is in the future, when sidewalks are constructed along this entire dead-end street, they have no way to discharge water from the road. There are no curb inlets required. The drainage under drain that would be installed in this situation would not be located correctly under the curb and gutter. And also, as from the hardship letter I provided, based on engineering principle and the requirements of Metro's guidelines for construction of sidewalk, roadway, curb and gutter, the inverts of the drainage under drain that would be installed would cause water to pond on the property and at the neighboring property downstream. The downstream invert of the 16 liter.
I know is well and good, but we're not there yet. This is just kind of hypothetical in the future. Right now, there aren't sidewalks on most of these areas, so.
Well, what I'm getting to is that if we were to build this sidewalk right now and install the under drain along the entire the frontage of the property, water would pond today.
Where would it pond?
At the downstream end of the property. The invert of the under drain is lower than the existing invert of the drainage ditch. That means that the entire drainage ditch on that side of the property, the roadside ditch, would have to be regraded in order to convey water past the end of this property.
So where does the water go now from the neighboring property?
The neighboring property? Right now, the drainage ditch, if you could imagine this ditch is in a linear plane and has a slope of, let's say, 3%. When we install this drainage system, the pipe on the downstream end is going to be lower than the invert of the existing ditch. So the pipe would be here, and the invert of the ditch would be here, which would cause ponding of water on this property. So it's not constructible and in a way that would maintain the flow of water down the drainage ditch.
So are architects not constructible?
And it's explained in the letter that the invert would be below the grade of the ditch, and I've provided a drawing showing the inverts.
So I don't understand why not just pay the in lieu fee?
Well,
You're
the
eligible to
hardship
do
is that the in lieu fee is exorbitant and a lot more than what it actually would cost to build the sidewalk, and it's about 100% more. So you're basically taking away a developer's right to choose by this being non-constructible. He doesn't have the choice. He only can pay the in lieu of fee.
When were those houses built next door where that driveway?
I can't answer that, but they are very new.
Probably before the.
They were probably completed maybe this spring or this summer before the ordinance was passed. And as you can see, those houses would never have sidewalks constructed or never be required to. Metro could come in and construct them. But, this just illustrates a really fundamental flaw in this sidewalk ordinance is that they have not taken into account, existing drainage systems and issues of this nature. It just doesn't.
Other questions?
I don't have a question. I'll wait.
Do you have anything else to add?
No, sir.
Okay. We're going to close the public hearing. Discussion?
Do you have something?
Well, I mean, I think that's the purpose of the in lieu fee is, so that Metro can do things bigger than an individual can do on their property. If it doesn't make sense, and you have the option to, he's saying that it would cost more than to build the sidewalk, but he's saying the sidewalk is unbuildable and make it work. So presumably to make it work, it would cost a lot of money. My feeling would be that it's appropriate to pay the in lieu fee, and then when Metro decides to build a sidewalk through the whole neighborhood, they can deal with the drainage themselves. And they can deal with the whole system at once rather than an individual parcel view.
Any other opinions, discussion?
Well, I'm just wondering if he wants to build the sidewalk just because it costs him less than to pay the in lieu fee, he can build a sidewalk.
Oh, but he had this kind of, well, if you
I
build
know he doesn't like
little-
it. I mean, I know it's not the sidewalk he wants.
Right, but no, those are the options. Build a sidewalk to spec, pay in the in lieu fee. That's what the legislation that was passed earlier this year said for these new houses. But he's coming in front of us asking for not to do that.
Not to do either.
Yep.
And I don't agree with that. I just wish there was someone from planning here who could address more of the engineering of it, and maybe it's not planning, maybe it's public works, because they really didn't address that in their letter. But I don't believe it's unbuildable, but we really need an engineer to say it's unbuildable.
I'm sympathetic. I mean, he's an engineer, and I'm not disputing that it's impossible, that it's I'm not disputing what he's saying about the constructability, but I mean, I think that was the reason we have the in lieu fee. Otherwise, any hardship, we would never have a kitty to pay for sidewalks anywhere else, which is the whole purpose of the in lieu fee.
Okay, anyone have a motion?
I'll move that we take the recommendation of the planning department that the applicant pay the in lieu fee.
Motion has been made and properly seconded, but I'm not sure if that is what is in front of us. We have to basically deny the request because normally, yeah.
I'll amend to deny the request, and I don't do anything with the planning recommendation.
Yep.
Staff understood the motion to be to deny the request for a variance and allow him, was that right, Ms. Carbonek, to pay into the fund?
Yes. She would allow him to pay into the fund, in lieu fund. Is that your motion?
Yes.
Proper second? Okay, any more discussion?
Let's go on my second.
Who's second? Okay, yeah, motion's been made. Who's going to second it? Okay, motion's been made and properly seconded. Any more discussion? Being none, all those in...
I would just add one option. If it would make difference to the architects to hear from planning, should we give him an opportunity to do that? It is an interesting issue to me, what's been addressed.
I wouldn't mind hearing more from planning or maybe
maybe
public
not
works.
planning.
Would you be willing to defer it one meeting and have planning here and we'll talk about it?
Maybe there would be an alternative design.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what the issue of the in lieu of fee. I just think that this entire ordinance has not been thought out.
Yes,
and yeah, I know you guys have to deal with it, so you understand that there are fundamental engineering and design issues with just building random sidewalks all over the place that have a lot more to do with stormwater drainage, which is a major concern in this city, and that has not been addressed at all in this ordinance. They just said, let's build sidewalks everywhere.
So what would you like to do? You could either defer it, or we could just basically vote.
I'll defer it.
Okay.
Because that would allow, can I make sure that if we decide, in between now and then, that they would just rather pay into the aluminum fee, we could withdraw, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Matter will be punted to a November the 16th docket and heard on that date accordingly. We'll invite representative or representatives from the planning department to chime in on that. One moment, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I'm just confused about the motions. Maybe I should.
Mr. Chairman, on case number 311, the property at 5502 Urbandale, the appellants have chosen to defer to the first meeting in December so that they can work with the planning department to see if there's an alternative sidewalk design that would fit the bill for this particular
Very
case.
good. Another one for planning. Good. So what's next?
Next case is number 2017-313. Robert Hudson is the appellant. Arthur Avenue LLC is the owner of the property located at 1926 14th Avenue North in North Nashville, Council District number 21, shown here at the intersection of Clay Street. This lot is a large corner lot, but it's the interior portion, I think, that's at issue for this proposed build. The request before the board is for a variance from sidewalk requirements in the R6 zoning district for portions of the duplex construction. The site plan submitted shows a proposed layout of the residential structures along 14th with Clay Street there, as you can see on the left. From my recent site visit, the undeveloped property here to the rear stands ready. However, the view across the street, of course, shows finished properties already built, no sidewalk in either condition, as you can see from the view up and down 14th from my recent site visit. Mr. Hudson is present. There's no opposition present on his case. So if you would please, just for our benefit of our record, Mr. Hudson, state your name and address and make the desired presentation.
Yes, my name is Robert Hudson. Excuse me, 700 Craighead Street, Nashville, Tennessee, 37204. I'm a partner with Arthur Avenue LLC. We own the vacant land behind 1311 Clay Street, which is a detached HPR, and we would like to build new construction in the back, and it triggered the sidewalk rule. And the existing home is actually in the proposed area of the sidewalk zone, so physically I can't put the sidewalks along the front and along about 60 feet or so of the side of 14. It would actually be in the house if I was to put the sidewalk there. There's about 5 feet on the side of the house between the street and the actual house itself, and then on the front portion of the property, the house goes all the way into the existing sidewalk there. There is some room further down where the proposed new residence will be that we can put, excuse me, put sidewalks, but that's pretty much it. That's my hardship there, and we're willing to put sidewalks, but physically we can't.
How long has that structure been there on the corner like that?
I'm not sure when it was built. I think it was before 1964 sometime when the house was built.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? Okay. Anything else to add?
No, sir.
Okay, we're going to close the so there is a sidewalk fund. You've heard about that all meeting. So why not just pay in the sidewalk fund?
From what I was told, I was ineligible to contribute because there are sidewalks there along the front side of Clay Street, and that I was not eligible to contribute. And just like the gentleman before me, the fee is pretty excessive. The amount that they gave me was $38,000 for the fund, and it's pretty much a deal killer, you know, when you're trying to build and not build too expensively, but, you know, with the market value. So it would drive up the cost of the home, which I don't know if I could absorb it, you know, when it comes time to sell.
So the question, so you're saying that the in lieu fund for your particular property is $38,000. So John Michael, this
Is that just for the Clay Street portion, or is that for the whole thing?
That's for the whole thing, because it's an HPR, so
it's
they're
on
saying
the corner.
Yeah, they say we share the land, so it makes me responsible. I don't own the Clay Street part.
You got to do the whole corner.
Yeah, I don't own that part, and it's telling me I have to do the 90 feet in the front, and then.
But your LLC does.
No, it doesn't own the front portion of the property. It's been sold.
So
we don't own 1311 Clay, which is the existing structure there.
John Michael, this house that's on the corner, like almost on the road, was that built legally?
I have no permitting records in front of me with regard to that construction, Mr. Chairman.
I mean, there's no way they could build a sidewalk there, obviously.
Hence, I think the request, and Mr. Hudson, I don't want to speak for you, so correct me if I've misunderstood this, was to go with an alternative plan along 14th, but to just make the payment along Clay. And then when we saw the planning recommendation, it was, of course, as you know, Mr. Chairman, to approve an alternative sidewalk plan on 14th, but then approve the payment on Clay as well as an alternative to actual construction, in large part because of the obvious difficulties associated with the placement of the existing house there at the intersection.
So he's saying the in lieu fee is 30-something thousand. Is that based on just the Clay part, or?
We can work backwards on the math, but it's $178 per linear foot.
It's both. It's the entire.
So is that the recommendation of planning to do both?
Planning's recommendation was to accept a payment in lieu along Clay, which is the upper portion of this picture, but to approve an alternative sidewalk plan along 14th.
Oh, that would require him to build there.
Yeah.
Alternative being what? A foot wide? I mean, what could you do? I mean, okay, questions for the applicant? I've never seen a house that close to the road before in Nashville. That's quite surprising. Do we have anything else to add, or should we close the public hearing?
No.
Do you have anything else to add?
Not other than I can't do it, and I'm willing to do what I can in front of the part that I'm about to build. But other than that, I don't know.
So, John Michael, this is getting triggered because there's some LLC that has common ownership of this entire. Why would the other part be triggered if he's just wanting to build on this one lot, and why doesn't he have to just build in front of that? Why is this considered?
Although I didn't do the initial review of the site plan or the parcel, I am showing, if you look at the zoning map shown here, an underlying lot line. But if that's not been reinstituted, then it is a matter of a true HPR development in terms of the way the property is laid out. That means we're talking about one lot for purposes of this analysis and determining the sidewalk requirement.
So
again, speculating, but I didn't do the original.
Who owns the lot next door to the house?
I'm not sure who the owner is.
Is it your group of people?
Excuse me?
Is it your group that you're working with?
No, we bought the entire lot, and we sold the existing house to the new owner.
When?
It was in the summer. I'm not sure exactly.
Okay, so it seems like what's happening is he's still being charged that they own the whole thing. So, John Michael, is there anything we could do to kind of fix that, or is this yet another deferral?
I don't know that the ownership is really the question there, Mr. Chairman, because if this is in fact one lot, as shown on the site plan provided by the appellant, and as shown on the zoning map that we started with here, if it's one lot, that's what's triggering the requirement, because the sidewalk has to do with all street frontage along a lot, or a parcel is probably the more accurate word.
And so is that the $38,000, or are they counting the other property and around the corner?
Again, I'm just working by the math here. It's $178 per linear foot, so we can probably back out of the algebra there.
But, so your group owns the property, the dirt?
In the back portion, yes, sir.
Wait, so it's It's an HPR.
It's HPR.
So who owns the dirt?
They're saying it's common ground that, like a condo or so on and so forth, but I can't sell his portion.
So somebody else owns,
Yes, sir.
some individual owns each of the two structures, or the structure and the proposed structure.
Yes, sir. So they're saying that the dirt triggers the sidewalk requirement, so whoever does it first basically is responsible for the frontage, and the side would have been a corner lot that I'm responsible for.
I mean, that sounds like actually that's something to work out internally who's responsible for it, but I mean, I know that you're in front of us.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we have,
I mean, to save $17,000, I don't know why you couldn't subdivide the lot and.
well, the lot had been subdivided once before.
Oh,
It
so
is
you probably
duplex
can't.
eligible, but it was a part of a lot that's next door at one time in history. So they're saying that we couldn't actually subdivide it, but we could do, it was still duplex eligible. So we could do a detached or an attached HPR, but that was the only way to kind of make it, to use the duplex eligibility to do an HPR.
Well, do we have the power to allow him to not contribute on Clay Street?
Yes, you
but
are,
to do-
sure.
Okay,
Mhm.
so we can just make up our own mind, I guess.
Yep.
We're allowed to. Okay.
So, okay, so let's close the public. You have anything else to add?
No, that's it.
Okay, we're going to close the public hearing.
So-
Discussion.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking, that, we would basically ignore the first item of the conditions that planning said. So we would approve the variance and say the applicant shall construct sidewalks along the 14th Avenue frontage as shown in the site plan, which is a
Yes.
modified.
And if he's willing to pay in the in lieu fund, that's just be calculated for that particular portion. Do we have that right?
Sorry, I didn't hear you. Can you say that again?
So do we have the right to kind of say if he pays into the in lieu fund, it's just on that slight portion on 14th?
I think so. It says that that this board may require a contribution to the pedestrian network or other mitigation for the loss of public improvements.
So
I think it's like any.
what we're doing is defining where the sidewalks should be built and how much feet of the in lieu
So
fund.
here's the motion I'll make. I move that we grant a variance for the sidewalk along Clay Street and not require the applicant to pay the in lieu fee for that portion, the Clay Street portion, and that we approve the variance along the 14th Avenue North frontage. The applicant may build the alternative plan as submitted, or pay the in lieu fee for that frontage.
Okay.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and properly seconded. Any more discussion?
You okay with that, John Michael? Is that?
He can pay on the remaining portion.
On the 14th, he can pay or build.
I understood it to be he has to build the whole thing on 14th.
Well-
That's how I understood your motion.
Well, maybe I should clarify that. What I am indeed saying along 14th, he may build the modified plan as submitted, or he may pay the in lieu fee for that street frontage. It's his choice, the applicant's choice.
So even that portion that's not, just do it the way that I submitted on the site plan, even though it's smaller than what is required by the new regulation? Okay. That's fair.
Okay. Okay, motion's been made properly seconded. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Granted. So, good luck.
Thank you.
John Michael.
Case 2017-314 is from Mr. Hossein Moradipur, the appellant and owner of the property located at 605 Old Hickory Boulevard East in the Madison community. The request is for a variance from sidewalk requirements in the CS zoning district as part of construction for a new building and business. The zoning map here shows the property just below the main part of Old Hickory Boulevard on Old Hickory Boulevard East. The aerial shows an undeveloped lot in this area. now at issue. From our recent site visit on a very pretty fall day, the view across the street in the upper left-hand corner, the subject property in the lower right-hand. And as you can see, there is no sidewalk on this side, on either side of the street, this stretch of Old Hickory Boulevard East. You have a very recently received letter from the council member on this case. I hope it's part of your packet. It just came in during the 11 o'clock hour today.
Yep.
Councilmember Bill Pardue from District 9, Bill Pridemore from District 9. Apologies, Councilman. As there is no opposition present, the appellant will have 10 minutes to make the desired presentation to the board. Please introduce yourself by name and address and make your presentation.
Thank you. My name is Hossein Moradipur. I'm the owner of the property at 605 Old Hickory Boulevard. When I submitted my application for the permit, at that time they told me you're eligible to basically pay into the Public Works Fund. So I said, fine, so we can go ahead and do it. So after I submitted the site plan, they found that that portion of the Old Hickory Boulevard is not eligible for putting money into the fund. So, and the only way to do it is come in front of your board.
Would you be willing to pay into the fund?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
Okay, we're going to close the public hearing. Anything else to add? Nothing else to add?
No, I don't have it. Thank you.
Okay, it's a discussion. Here's a case, willing to pay into the fund. Not sure why they would tell him he couldn't. Motion?
Make a motion.
Okay.
Motion list. You've done that.
I move that, I made a couple motions. I move that we grant the variance, case number 314, and allow the applicant to pay into the in lieu sidewalk fund as he constructs his new building.
All right, I'll second.
Motion's been made and properly seconded. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Good luck. You can pay into the in lieu fund.
Mr. Chairman, case number 2017-315 involves the property at 4705 Alabama Avenue. The appellant is Ricky Scott, and the owner of the property is the Kingston Group, LLC. The request is for a variance from sidewalk requirements in the RS-10 zoning district. As you'll see from the zoning map here, the subject property is just a couple of clicks down from Richland Park and directly across the street from Interstate 40 in West Nashville, just off 46th Avenue. You have correspondence in your file from the district council member regarding her opposition to the request. The project at issue is for construction of an addition to the existing property shown here in the aerial photo. Of note, there are, of course, sidewalks present on the property as shown in the straight-on view from our recent site visit. More notably here along Alabama, you can see the planter strip and sidewalk that is in place going through. You also have the planning department's recommendation on the case. The appellants are represented, and please just introduce yourself by name and address and make the desired presentation.
Again, Thomas Brett Design Build, principal engineer, and representing Ricky Scott and the Kingston Group in this case for 4705 Alabama Avenue. As you can see, there's an existing contiguous sidewalk along the streetscape, and the applicant is requesting a variance from the sidewalk ordinance in an effort to maintain the existing layout of the sidewalk, which is contiguous from 47th to 48th Avenue and the majority of Alabama Avenue. And would request a sidewalk variance so they do not have to demolish and reconstruct something that's already in place.
Okay, questions for the applicant? Nothing? Anything else to add?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. We're going to close the public hearing. So in our packet, we have an email from Councilwoman Kathleen Murphy, who says, I am strongly against variance of sidewalk variances in my district, so remember that for the future. Not only this, but others. And then we have a recommendation that you see from planning, which asks for disapproval, but it does say, it wants basically the applicant to build a 8-foot sidewalk and keep the remaining 10-foot grass strip. But if we allow the applicant to pay in the in lieu fund, they ask that we ask them to dedicate the right of way for future sidewalk construction. if we let him go in the in lieu fund. So, discussion.
I'm not overly opposed to paying into the in lieu fund in this situation. I think the sidewalks, it makes sense to me to keep what's there at this time and have them dedicate the right of way. I'm willing to make that motion.
Okay. So that's the motion?
I make a motion that we grant the requested sidewalk variance to allow the applicant to pay into the in lieu fund, but to dedicate the right of way for future sidewalk construction.
Okay, motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and properly seconded. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 4-1. Very good. And John Michael.
That concludes the board's business for today. We'll see you on November the 16th, 2017 for the next BZA meeting.
Longer than I thought.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.